Carbohydrates, what are they anyway? You know, this is one of the nutrients that is most talked about, whether they're good or bad. Should I have them? Should I not have them? Where do they come from? So that's what we're going to talk about, and I'll let you decide for yourself. So just as a disclaimer, none of the information provided should be substituted or replaced for any individual medical advice from your doctor or qualified healthcare professional, and is for informational and educational purposes only. Today we're talking about carbohydrates. Dun, dun, dun. What are they? What's their purpose, types and sources, and how to include them in a healthy eating plan. Now I understand, we all have different lifestyles. We all have different eating patterns as well as beliefs around food. And that will ultimately affect the choices that we make regarding food and our fitness. If you decide to go vegan or pescatarian or paleo or even do a sunlight diet, just kidding. But what I'm saying is, if it's something that you're doing that can sustain your health and well-being and nourishes your body and provides you the nutrients that you need to support your health for the long term, if it's sound to you, if it's fulfilling to your lifestyle and what you're trying to accomplish in this one life that we're given to live, I support you in that. So carbohydrates are nutrients. There's 6 classes of nutrients. There's carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, which are your fats and your oils, vitamins, minerals, and water. They're all nutrients. All right, back inside. It got a little too noisy out there and the sun started to go down anyway. So what are carbs? What are carbohydrates? This is a question. Why do we discriminate against this poor carbohydrate nutrient? So it makes me wonder, why are we really cutting out these carbs? Carbohydrates can vary from small units to complex units. There's hundreds of different carbs that exist in nature. Simply stated, they're classified by the number of carbons that they have. Most common in human consumption is glucose, galactose, and fructose. Now the chemistry and biochemistry of all of that gets very complicated, gets very in-depth, and generally speaking, when we're eating food, we're not thinking about these types of molecular structures. So for all intents purposes and for this discussion, it's just to get a better understanding of this nutrient and how it affects our life and health and overall well-being. When there's not enough carbohydrate that is eaten to supply enough glucose, then the body is forced to produce glucose in another way. Now that's a whole nother conversation and a whole nother video that we'll get to. Fiber is classified as a carbohydrate, but does not provide much energy to the body, but improving digestive operations as well as preventing disease is more of the significant role that this classified carbohydrate has. So yeah, carbs are not only for energy. Now, types and sources. Fiber is something that really is in a class by itself. There's insoluble fiber, soluble fiber. So we're gonna do a whole separate video all on fiber. I know you hear about whole grains, right? Make sure half your plate is whole grain this, whole grain that. Eat whole grains, they're healthy for you. They're better for you, Sometimes right? We might ask, what is the difference between whole grain or not whole grain, right? So a lot of times we can associate it to color, brown rice versus white rice. Now here are 3 structural components to whole grain. 1, the bran is still intact, and that's where most of the fiber is contained. The germ is also intact in whole grains. It contains vitamins, minerals, and fat. Then you have the starchy endosperm. They are high in phytochemicals with several B vitamins, vitamin E, magnesium, copper, iron, and fiber. So these are the reasons that whole grain is recommended, because there's so much more nutrient-dense material in whole grain products or whole grain food. So like I said, there's hundreds of carbohydrates that are out in nature, and I think there's some grains that have been overlooked. So again, another upcoming video will go through these overlooked grains that provide such benefit. So look out for that. So there's many types of carbohydrates. But to simply state it, there's simple and complex carbohydrates. Now, the word starch is just a term for the storage form of carbohydrate in plants. Fruits, vegetables, and grains are our primary dietary source of carbohydrate and contributes to much of our diet. So we can get an adequate supply of carbohydrate from foods like the breads, bagels, tortillas, pita bread, English muffins, crackers, rice, pasta, beans, potatoes, oatmeal, breakfast cereals. Now from your fruit and vegetable group, you have your apple, oranges, bananas, blueberries, grapes, melon, strawberries, broccoli, green beans, carrots. And from your dairy group, your milk and yogurt also have a source of carbohydrate. Though there are myths and truths that abound in relation to how much carbohydrate we need, it still remains the greatest contributor to human energy, both in developed countries as well as undeveloped countries worldwide. How to incorporate carbohydrates into a healthy eating plan? According to the Food and Nutrition Board, an acceptable nutrient distribution of carbohydrates is 45 to 65% of total energy coming from carbohydrates. So this difference in range was put in place to allow people to be able to plan. You know, we're all different, we all have different lifestyles, so that was taken into account, as well as the ability to metabolize these types of carbohydrate foods. Now, the general recommendation is for people to consume these carbohydrate-rich foods from sources that are more nutrient dense, such as your whole grain products, like I mentioned before, your legumes, lower fat dairy food, and fruit and vegetables. And again, why is this recommended? Because these types of foods provide the nutrients that your body needs to support your health. They're loaded with vitamins, minerals, fiber, and phytochemicals. The DRI, or the dietary reference intake for carbohydrates, is set at a minimum of 130 grams per day. Now, this is in place to be able to support the central nervous system, the brain, as well as other tissues that are dependent on glucose for energy. So I've mentioned before, getting a variety of foods in is key to a healthy eating plan. Not only is coupling or pairing your food groups good for exposure to nutrient intake, but as well as managing or maintaining blood glucose levels. So for example, fiber slows the absorption rate of glucose into the bloodstream, and that reduces the release of insulin from the pancreas. In maintaining blood sugar levels, it can help with preventing any immediate spike or drop in blood sugar. Now, when we're looking at our eating styles and choosing foods to eat, you gotta realize that our choices around food are affected by so many factors. So just to rule out or to single out one nutrient like carbohydrate and throw them in handcuffs and throw away the key, if you would, is a little unfair, because there's so many things that affect our choices with food and affect our body. So what are the factors that affect our food choices? We have psychological needs, social network, family and friends, food customs and culture, food cost, food availability, education and occupation, your income, routines and habits and lifestyle are factors, health, nutrition concerns, knowledge and beliefs, food marketing, food flavor, texture, appearance, and preferences. These are all factors that affect our choices with food. And I might add, our genetic endowment affects almost every medical condition. Just something to consider. You know, I was thinking about some of us, we have beliefs around food that may have served us a time ago, and we carried it over into what we're doing now. You know, some of us have picked up some beliefs around food that sometimes we don't even question. And it's something that we just go with. You know, have we challenged those beliefs? Where do they come from? For one, two, do they still serve us? So that's the question maybe to ask yourself, is what you're doing still serving you today? Now, that's not for me to judge, but I think it's a question that you need to ask yourself. What's the real reason for cutting out carbs? So if you're willing, here's a couple of tips or a couple of tools that you can use in order to maybe answer or help answer that question in the beginning when it comes to challenging certain beliefs that we have around food and if it still serves us. So why do you eat what you do. So you're going to choose one day of the week is generally a typical eating pattern for you. And you're going to list your foods that you consume as well as your beverages within a 24-hour period. Using the influences of food choices, like I mentioned, the psychological, the social needs, etc., use that to indicate why you consume the foods that you do, to indicate why you consume each item. Now, as a side note, there can be more than one reason why you pick a certain food or beverage. Now ask yourself, what was the most frequent reason for eating or drinking? And to what extent health and nutrition concerns are the reason for your food choices? And if those aren't the reasons, then what are the reasons? Changing habits, changing eating patterns, it's not easy. It is challenging, but it is rewarding. And there's work involved. You know, there's really no way to get around that there's work involved. You are required to show up for yourself. And that work includes being open to mindset changes, challenging certain beliefs about food that you have, letting go of some old beliefs, and allowing new approaches to your health and wellness to take form. Being gentler with yourself, accepting who you are right now. These are all parts of making changes. It starts from the inside out. It starts with how you're thinking about things, how you think about yourself, how you see yourself does affect you, does affect the journey that you're going to take, does affect not only you, but those around you, affects your methods on how you treat your body, how you treat yourself, how you treat others. So I hope that can give you a little more insight into carbohydrates. They are nutrients. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like if you've got any value from this video, and also put on the notifications so you don't miss one. Enjoy your day. Until the next time.